What's up, everybody? It's JetGirl888, and this is my 100 subscriber special. I'm a little bit over 100 subscribers now, which is super awesome. And to give thanks to everybody who has supported my YouTubing adventure so far, I wanted to make a special video. And so I went out on all my social medias and I asked around, what do you want to see? And one of the main things that I got asked to make was a Q&A video. Some of these questions were given to me by some of you guys who answered all of my beautiful polls that I made. Some of these questions are ones that I have gotten quite a bit over the years. So, let's get to the questions. One of the first questions that I was asked was a very important one. The question I was asked was, what key is my favorite key? And I had to think kind of hard about this one. As someone who does, in fact, play music, I do play in a lot of keys. Especially as a blues musician, I find myself doing a lot of improvised soloing over a variety of keys. And I can at least say for sure which one is my least favorite. This one I have played countless times in. I think I've played hours upon hours of songs in this key, and blues songs too, shuffles, and anything you can think of, I've played in this key in that style of. And at this point, when I go to solo over this key, I feel like I've run out of ideas. I feel like I can't play anything new at this point. And the lucky winner for my least favorite key is A minor. And for my favorite key, I kind of am leaning between two different options. One of them would have to be D minor. I know a majority of the songs I've written are in D minor, and that's kind of my most comfortable vocal range. And a lot of my favorite songs to sing are in that key as well. I also just kind of like how that scale sounds. I'm a big fan of that key. And I would also say my other favorite key would have to be G. And I think it's a solid choice between both G major and G minor. I think that they're pretty equal with each other. I do a lot of songs as well in G minor. Some of my most favorite blues songs are in G minor, like Stormy Monday. And then some songs like Tush by ZZ Top. And then, of course, we've got the G major songs, which there are many of. One of those happening, well, technically, Sweet Child of Mine isn't in G major, but normally when I play it, it's in E standard. So it's in G major in my heart. That's all that matters. I think the thing with D minor and the key of G are that I find those keys to have the most feel to them when I'm playing. I know a lot of people are scared of that word, but I kind of do most of my playing based off of what I hear and feel with my ears. So when it comes to playing, if I'm in a song and I can't really feel it, I have a little bit of a harder time kind of really, rocking out. When I'm usually playing songs in those keys, I tend to see that even if it's just the most basic of song, that I always kind of really feel that key a little bit easier. Another question I got is, what instruments do I play? And that is a very good question because I play a lot of instruments. However, I have two kind of tiers of instrument playing, and that is the ones I could probably leave the house and go play at a gig, and the ones that will never see the light of day. If we're talking about the ones I would actively go outside and I have gigged before or can gig on that instrument. So I play guitar. I've been playing guitar for about 10 years now, almost. We're getting there. Guitar is my primary instrument. I would say I'm probably the best at that one because I've been playing it for quite a bit longer. I also play bass. I've been playing bass for about 4 years. Transitioning over to bass from guitar wasn't super hard. It was just mainly, how do I do the right hand properly? So I went out and spent quite a bit of time just kind of watching other bass players in town. So now I would say I'm pretty good at playing the bass. Don't ask me to slap a bass though. I also play the drums. I've been playing drums, I don't know. Drums is one of the instruments where I don't really know how to consider how long I've been playing it because I've played it to record with, but I didn't really practice the drums. I just used it for recording, and I would play the most basic Boots and Cats beats on a lot of my old recordings from when I was in high school. And I don't think until my senior year of high school, I really started to actually be like, maybe I should learn how to play the drums legitimately and not just around. So I would say I've probably been playing drums for almost 5 years now. I also sing. I would say I've been singing for a while. Can't really put a timestamp on that. I kind of hate singing. I used to, at least, really badly in high school when I started singing. I was so embarrassed to sing in front of people that I just would never do it. And then if I did, I'd have to have like my guitar on me. Once I reached about college, I think playing on stage kind of became a lot less scary to me. And so trying to sing without my guitar was something I slowly started trying to do. And I can pretty much do it now. I will hop up at a jam and you just show me the lyrics and I will make my way through the song. I also play harmonica. I've only been playing harmonica for a couple months now. I kind of wanted to when I was younger, but I did not understand what was going on with it, so I just kind of left it alone. And then more recently, since I play in a lot of blues communities, I've seen a lot of people play harmonica, and I was like, I want to do that. And so I started spending more time trying to figure out, the techniques and stuff and how all the keys work. And I would say I'm okay at it. I'm definitely not the most bestest person ever, obviously, because I've only been playing for a couple months. But I'm at least confident enough where I can hop up at a blues jam and I can play around a little bit, take a solo. It might not sound fantastic, but it at least doesn't murder anyone's ears unless no one's telling me that it is, but I think it's okay for now. And then to go along with the harmonica and segueing into the instruments I would never play out in public is that I do play trumpet. I played trumpet for like 8 months in high school through my junior and senior year in the symphonic band and the jazz band. I would say I'm not very good at it. I kind of learned it on a whim. A lot of my technique I think is very incorrect. I don't even think I hold the trumpet correctly. And I just I can play it enough to get by through a song, through a concert and stuff, but I would never go out in public and play it because I would probably cry because I'm not very good at it. I also play other brass instruments that I've mentioned. I know my way roughly around. If you give me like a week, I could learn a song on these instruments at least. That would be trombone, French horn, and tuba. I've always really liked brass instruments because I was obsessed with Chuck Mangione in high school, so I kind of went around and just kind of got a feel for them. And I do a lot of writing music, and outside of just writing rock tunes, I also do composing for symphonic stuff and jazz bands, and I didn't think I could do that properly unless I kind of had a basic understanding of all of the kind of wind instruments and things like that. I can also play the banjo. I took lessons on banjo briefly. It has been ages, though, since I've actually played it. I had a decent understanding. I just haven't played it in a while, so I wouldn't trust myself going out and playing it live. I believe that's all the instruments I can play. I might be forgetting one here and there, but I'm pretty confident that's all of them. One of the questions that I get a lot is, why is my Instagram handle JetGirl888? And that is a good question, because unless you've been following me since before I started playing guitar, you probably wouldn't know why. So basically, when I was younger, I used to race jet skis with my sister, JetGirl777, or Anna Glennon. And we had a racing team called Jet Girls Racing. And she ran the numbers 777, so she is Jet Girl 777. And I ran a 888, so I am Jet Girl 888. I probably raced from when I was 9 until I think I was 15, maybe. I wasn't very good at it like my sister. I obviously don't have any world titles or anything crazy. I have one national tour points championship that I hold on to with all of my might. I ended up having to quit racing or retire, I guess, even though I was like 15. I don't know if I could say that word, because I got into a accident. I call it accident, but I was the only one involved, and it was just because I was stupid. It was really rough conditions, and there were a lot of really big waves, and I ended up losing my footing and grabbing all of the throttle and proceeding to yank my shoulders out of myself. And I did it once, and I fell in the water. I got back on the ski, and then when I did it the second time, my back felt really out of place, and I could not really move very well. I ended up not being able to move my left arm from like this position for like half of my freshman year of high school. It wasn't very fun, and at the time I had just started playing guitar, so I was kind of mad because I basically could not play at all because both of my arms were out of commission. And so I decided to throw in the towel and just kind of commit full time to being a musician. And so my sister still does race. She still does that. She'll probably be doing that until she's wheelchair bound. You're getting up there, aren't you? No, I'm kidding. But yeah, that is why my handle is JetGirl888. Another one of the questions that I get is, what guitar is my favorite? I don't have a favorite. I can't stress that enough. I love them all equally. I can't pick. Please don't make me do it. Another one of the questions I got was, what guitar or amp is on my wish list? And I have a lot of things on my wish list, but I have quite a lot of gear already, if you can't tell. So when it comes to wish list stuff for music gear, I most likely already have gotten something that I really wanted. However, there is one guitar that I have always always wanted, but I have not gotten it yet. But I had to Google it because it's got a bunch of numbers. But it is the ESP LTD EC256, which is the Eclipse that they have, which is kind of their Les Paul shaped one. I have one already that's an Eclipse 1000, and that is like my all-time top 10 favorite guitar to play. But something about the very specific, it's like a candy yellow or something going on, like lemon. It says something like lemon. I don't remember what it was, like specifically, because they name guitar colors weird sometimes. But it was just something about it. I was like, that's really cool. Like, I would be so cool if I played that. And it's just something I haven't gotten around to getting, and I don't really need it, so I haven't gotten it, but maybe one day I will. Aside from that, if it comes to amps, I would say anything PV. If it says PV on it, I want it. Another one of the questions that I think I get asked the most out of any question I've ever received is, how do I afford all of my gear? And usually with that question, most people kind of assume that I am just rolling in the dough and that I'm making it rain. And that is really not the case. If you don't know me super well, you wouldn't know that my family grew up pretty poor when we were younger and was kind of barely scraping by for quite a long time. And my parents worked really hard to support me and my sister through our interesting choices of hobbies. And so when I was younger, everything that we got was used gear. I know that used gear is sort of a hot topic sometimes, and a lot of people will look at my collection and just kind of call it like garbage, because I don't have a $4,000 Gibson Les Paul, my $5,000 amp, and my $5,000 pedal board. I always find it funny when that happens, because what do you mean my vintage collection of guitars isn't cool? But anyways, that is how I afford all my gear. They're all used. Buy used stuff. One of my favorite questions I get asked is, what got me into guitar playing? And this is a lengthy one. What a lot of people don't know about me is when I was growing up, I was bullied a lot. And it did years of psychic damage. I didn't really have any friends. There was nothing I was really good at. And it was really hard for me. And that kind of came with a lot of years of struggling with like mental health stuff. And there were a lot of points where I was just like, it's never going to get better. Like, it's just always going to be like this. And I didn't really feel like there was a real like point to anything. And when I was in middle school, I would spend a lot of time playing video games. I obviously didn't have friends, so I had a lot of free time. And one of my favorite games was the Guitar Hero games. And I had like the drum sets and the mics and the guitars, and I was just super into it. I would play it for hours upon hours, and you can ask my parents. They probably heard me play it for like billions of years. And I think over time, something about it just kind of like clicked in my mind. I was like, if Guitar Hero is so fun, why don't I just learn an instrument? And at the time, I was obsessed with the drums. I was like, if I was a drummer, I bet I would have friends. And so I was trying to get my parents to get me a drum set, but my mom did not want one in the house because that would be a very loud object. So I decided that if I couldn't do drums, I would convince them by learning how to play guitar. And so I started learning how to play guitar in secret, and then I learned Satisfaction, specifically the Vanilla Ice version, not the not the Rolling Stones one. And then one day my parents were just chilling in the living room, and I came in with a guitar, and I was like, look at this. And then I played them the song, and I think they were concerned. And then from there, my dad was like, all right, you want to do this? Like, okay. We'll do this. And I got my first electric guitar, and then I got my first amp, and I just started playing constantly. I think I would practice for like 3 or 4 hours a day. I would come home from school, and I would just sit in my room, and I would just play music over and over and over again. And I think that my life would be very different if I did not find music. Even before I became a musician, music was always like a really significant part of my life. It was kind of a way for me to express myself, like what most people use music for. I always lacked a lot of communication skills, and I had a hard time with just about everything, but I always felt like music made things make more sense for me. I think one of the main reasons I'm the musician I am today is because I had such a strong desire to help people, and the way that music helped me through so much stuff, I was like, I just genuinely wanted to do that for other people, and I think that that drove me to practice and work really hard on all the different aspects of being a musician. And now as an adult, I teach music lessons, I teach bands, I teach classes, and I do all the social media stuff. And then with recording and writing my own music, I feel like now I've really started to accomplish that kind of dream that I had as a kid. Another question I got was, where are the side cutters? I don't know, Dad. Have you checked Mom's purse? She puts a lot of stuff in there. She's got one of those like Mary Poppins purses where like she just keeps pulling stuff out of it. If anything goes in there, you will never see it again. And I think that's where they are. I had a question that was asked to me by somebody that I know, and it was too funny, in my opinion, not to include, mainly just because I have an actual answer to it. And that question is what guitar is my favorite flavor? And sadly, I know the answer to this, and it's kind of a funny story. When I was probably about 16, I was practicing my guitar, as one does, and I was eating a Hot Pocket. And I was multitasking, so I didn't realize that my Hot Pocket was falling out of the little pouch thing that it has. And it ended up falling in between, like, behind the strings and the body of the guitar. And it, like, got pizza all over the entire thing. And apparently, I didn't do a very good job of cleaning it off, because not too long after, I was trying to be cool like Jimi Hendrix and play the guitar with my mouth. And I was playing that particular guitar, and I was like, this tastes familiar. And then soon I realized that it tasted like the pepperoni Hot Pockets that I get that have garlic butter sauce on them. And if you're wondering what guitar that is, it is my Gibson SG. And so, I would say that that one is my favorite flavored guitar, because that's the only one that tastes like something. That was the last question for my 100 subscriber Q&A video. I hope you enjoyed watching all of my beautiful questions, and I hope to see you in my next video. Thanks for watching!